and it has been there before COVID-19, and of course COVID-19 has made it worse. These challenges include IMO regulation that implemented in January 2020 this year, which has made it very difficult for those refiners with heavy production of heavy fuel oil and heavy sulfur. Also, there is the electric cars, which is affecting the gasoline production, and to some extent the diesel. Also, we have the renewable energy or green energy that also probably affect other sector like aviation. And we have seen recently that Airbus company started the first trip in hydrogen in Europe, which is going to be in the future probably jet fuel, also going to be either hydrogen or renewable energy. Other challenges we have is low margin or breast margin for refiners. As long as there is challenges, there are opportunities. And these opportunities, we need to really utilize them to the best in order to encounter these challenges. We need to be innovative and creative with new ideas, re-engineering of procedures and steps we are using in our operation. We need to excel in our operation. We need to have flexibility so that we can switch from maximization of gasoline, maximization of distillate, and so on. Of course, we need to utilize the new technology, which is available to us nowadays, including artificial intelligence, including Internet of Things, robotics, and so on and so forth. And we have three great speakers, and the panel will be moderated with my colleague, Mohammed Al-Ghamdi. And it's my pleasure to give a brief about Mohammed. Mohammed is the manager of NGL terminal at Yanbu since 2019. He has 25 years of experiences, 12 years in refining, 11 years in petrochemicals, and others in business development. He graduated from King Fahhad University with a bachelor in chemical engineering and a master from University of Phoenix. He is also the mastermind of Saudi Aramco initiatives for crude oil to chemical project with SABIC, which was crowned with a total 19 patent in this field. At this moment, I would like to turn the floor to my colleague, Mr. Mohammed Al-Ghamdi, to lead the panel, hoping you will find the panel very informative, interesting, and successful.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Al-Ahmadi, for this kind and warm introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you and moderate the GDA Downstream panel session as part of the 2020 MENA Energy Meet, along with our guests. Here, I would like to start and pave the way with a quote: "We won't be part of the problem, nor part of the solution. Our goal is to be pioneering in finding solution," said last week the Saudi Minister of Energy, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, it's about time not only to focus on sustainability, but to rethink our sustainability model, both in strategies and business practices, especially with where profitability has been hit this year by a plunge in a global energy demand by the pandemic. Not to mention the renewed outbreak of COVID-19, which caused more uncertainty and volatility in the global markets, substantially fostering innovation and technology towards environment-friendly solutions to driving our financial performance and resilience are the driving force. And as we take a look across the energy supply chain, in the current market condition, placing intensive focus on synergy and integration is the way towards value creation by implementing transformative operation excellence to facilitate transition to a circular, low-carbon economy. The downstream business complexity here is also considering increased variety of processes, scattered location, different customer needs, and dynamic market condition. In fact, these aspects further introduce more variability to the demand's forecast accuracy, hence hindering our sustainability progress. Only resilient organization can survive, which can be addressed through identifying new revenue streams, cost-saving opportunities, reducing risk, and making our organization in the top of the world leading companies focused on environmental, social, and corporate governance. Ladies and gentlemen, alongside our esteemed panelists today, we will address key factors to enable our organization driving their financial performance toward sustainability and growth. Now it's the time to introduce our valuable panelists, starting with our first guest from Kuwait, Mr. Fahhad Al-Ajmi, Corporate Planning Manager from Kuwait National Petroleum Company, KNPC. Mr. Al-Ajmi, with a background in chemical engineering, is working as a Corporate Planning Manager in Kuwait National Petroleum Company since 2017. He has also served as a team leader of operational planning in Mina, Shuaiba, and Mina Al-Ahmadi refineries. Mr. Al-Ajmi, I would like to ask you on what are the key challenges and measures that should be taken by GCC refineries and downstream industry in view of the operational excellence perspective, considering current economic conditions. Mr. Al-Ajmi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. It's my pleasure to join this important event where we can share our experience, especially that we have the same interest and challenges. So it's my pleasure today So if we are going today to talk about what are these risks we are facing now, especially during COVID-19 and even before COVID-19. You know that refineries, investment in downstream refineries business is financially expensive, and return on investment is unstable since it is exposed to different internal and external risks. So if we can discuss now or come to the risks that we are facing now, internally or externally, we are facing volatile oil prices, and everyone can see the oil prices, especially during COVID-19, there is no demand, so prices fall down. So it makes the business of the refineries facing difficulties and even unstable refinery margins. Also increased alternative fuel awareness and the global push of the world. As well, we can see global refining product oversupply. If we can see supply versus demand from now till maybe 2040, we can see there is oversupply of products versus demand. As well, there is stringent emission regulations and product specification by customers, and also increase the processing of heavy crude. Nowadays, it's not only light crude we are processing in the GCC countries, as well we have to find disposal for our heavy crudes for processing internally, domestically. So what measures required by downstream to know what the solution of these risks internally and externally? So it has been noticed that additional 5.7 million barrels per day of crude distillation capacity expected to be started up by 2025. So where Asia and Middle East will dominate new capacities addition over the next 5 years. So this will put pressure on the GCC countries over the world. As well, COVID-19 negative impact on product demand and significantly refining capacity is added. So the world braces for a shakeout in the short term. So based on that, I think refineries need to closely watch the capacity addition versus demand, and also to have health check on their long-term strategy. And instead of building extra capacity, we have to focus on two processes. On the bottom of barrel processing or upgrading, as well maximizing the conversion capacities. Also, we have to design flexibility for processing different type of crudes for optimum crude blend. Okay, if we're talking now, part of the solutions or second measure, we have to value addition and diversification. We know integration refinery with petrochemical is vital to deal with ongoing uncertainty in refined business for sustainability and profitability improvement. So any investment in the downstream industry is driven by integration with petrochemical complex. As refinery standalone is not attractive due to many reasons. First of these reasons, the petchem and derivatives demand growth and high prices of these derivatives, as well synergy and capital saving due to common infrastructure and logistics, a reduction in operating costs like integration of steam, utilities, hydrogen, and health margin between petchem and distillates. We know there is big margin between refined products and petchem derivatives. Also shared support services in the complex like maintenance, HR, and finance. So if we go for the optimized process, we know that pursue operational excellence through focusing on performance and economics and people. So on performance, we have to implement advanced process technologies and enhance reliability through adopting predictive maintenance program and energy optimization of fuel, steam, and electricity. On economics, we have to focus on two factors, which is maximizing value-added products and optimize the operating expense. Other initiatives we have to take into our consideration. We know that we have difficulties to share or to join private sector in our business. We're talking about Kuwait now. So we have to develop legislation to allow or enhance private sector participation and evaluate various green initiatives like biofuel, carbon capture for sustainable operations, so private sector can enter this non-core business. As well, explore opportunity to fund our projects through new financing routes, including JVs, IPO, and explore other equity reduction options to fund more valuable projects. As well, we have to postpone nowadays non-vital projects and privatize non-core business, and optimize the manpower requirement by retaining and incentivizing highly skilled employees, and explore more opportunities for cooperation with GDA participants and share best practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al-Ajmi, for this great participation. These actually are important measures for downstream industries to consider transforming from NOCs to energy companies by expanding their portfolio and integrating down the value chain like some IOCs in the world, which in fact enhance profitability in view of the current economic conditions. Also, as highlighted by Mr. Al-Ajmi, integrating down the value chain is the key factor towards enhancing profitability of our organization. Over the last few years, we have seen major increase in refining capacity, traded volumes, and chemical production, along with industry-changing acquisitions and groundbreaking business development. These milestones position us to pursue strategic synergies of our refining, chemical retail, and marketing functions. Such synergies, like those between Saudi Aramco and SABIC, create opportunities to strengthen our downstream value chain and integrate our global portfolio. I believe that the concept of crude oil to chemical, COTC, in our industry has proved its innovation with its high support to the creation of a world-leading downstream sector in the region. Nowadays, it had created a paradigm shift in the downstream business projects across the globe by diverting investment away from traditional or typical integrated refinery to a refinery with a high level of chemical conversion, which has more profitability and growth. It is most thrilling to see the IOCs have been influenced over recent years to heavily invest in the Saudi Aramco known terminology, the crude oil to chemical, COTC. This was heavily resonating as a major industry focus area, as demonstrated in many global functions, with its ultimate result of value creation, where we can see Reliance India projects as well as Chijan and Hengli projects in China are global examples in implementing this important transformation to the downstream businesses. And now, let's go to Bahrain to see perspective of excellence of Bahrain Petroleum Company, BAPCO, represented by our second panelist, Mr. Gaetano de Santis, Reliability and Maintenance General Manager. Mr. de Santis has more than 30 years of international experience in oil and gas. He is bringing an experience in downstream as he covered the role of Managing Director of several refineries in Italy and abroad, and also managing upstream and downstream projects worldwide. Mr. de Santis, building on this wide experience, please give us insight on how excellence, technology, and flexibility can help GCC refineries accelerate their growth in the future. Mr. de Santis, The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for the nice introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me participating to this outstanding meeting. I've been attending to a number of sessions this morning, and the content has been really interesting. So I'd like to give some views about how technology and flexibility can help GCC refiners to accelerate their growth in the future. To me, the things that we all should do are not different from the things that we should have done since ever, I would say. What changed today is most likely how we are going to do the same things. In last 10 months, and as Mr. Mohammed said, I'm Italian, so Italy has been one of the first countries hit by COVID-19. I think that COVID-19 has been one of the most used words. It impacted our lives, it changed our lifestyle. In many things, this change is a permanent one. Most of the sectors of the economy have been negatively impacted, but not all sectors. Everybody can understand, for example, that the medical was not impacted negatively. There are a number of companies, even startups, which got benefits from this situation because they were flexible. They were flexible to change their production, looking at the new situation and looking at the new issues. High tech, for example, has been one of the sectors who got the highest benefit from the crisis coming from COVID-19. Everybody was working from home. Everybody was using tools like Zoom. I think that we all experienced at least once every possible social media and meeting tool in last 10 months. So I do believe that COVID-19 made mainly two things if we want to look at the positive aspects. The first one, COVID-19 accelerated the change which is needed because of the scenario. I'd like to remind that the bad scenario was already there when COVID-19 started. COVID-19 made it worse, but it was not good before. So a number of change, and we know how difficult is the change management. We know how complicated it is doing the same things in a different way or doing new things. COVID-19 obliged we all to do new things. This conference, for example, is an example. The way we are managing the conference is another example. Just think, for example, to the concept of leadership. Leading by example, leading our teams to achieve the success, leading our teams to improve performances. How can you do it if you can't have a physical contact with your team in a difficult time like today? So we had to develop a different way to approach the day-by-day activity. Motivation is by far much more important than before. We have, for example, in BAPCO in this moment, we have more than 500 people working from home. Now, there is a difference between working from home and smart working. Smart working is when people can work from home exactly like they can do from the office. It means that you have the connection, it means that you have the laptop, it means that you have all the tools, it means that you need to use a VPN. But to do that, you need a very strong cybersecurity structure. So this is something which today is not a nice to have. Today, this is a must to have. We must use those kind of tools. The somebody said COVID-19 accelerated digitalization more than many CEOs. That's right. I personally think that in some cases, it is not digitalization, it's just modernization. So refining mainly is an old business. And we refiners, we are very comfortable in doing the same things always in the same way. Why? Because it means reliability, it means safety, it means HSE aspects. Today, we are obliged to do the same things in different way. We need to manage projects, we need to manage operations, we need to manage maintenance, just using a different approach. So I do believe that COVID-19 offers us a huge opportunity to progress into the modernization or digitalization path. In last years, if you look at what happens outside, things like our smartphones have been part of our life. Everybody has a tablet, but the tablets and smartphones used for operation purposes are not so diffused. So you have kids, 12 years old, 13 years old, who are very familiar with these kind of tools, but those tools are not used as we should do for our business day by day. Today, this is starting. Why this happened? Because we look at digitalization as a cycle, while it should be a continuous progress. Digitalization never stopped. If you look at the technology, there's been no stop in the last 5-10 years. It is a continuous production of new and modern tools every day, every month. The obsolescence of a laptop is 2 years. In 2-3 years, your machine is old. You can't maybe use the softwares you were using the day before. So what we should do to improve really, we should make the digitalization a continuous process, exactly as many companies did with safety management systems, with environmental management systems. So it is the reduction of the oscillation of the performances due to stop and go, improve, then stop, improve, then stop. No, we have to change our mindset and we need to continue implementing the digitalization in a no step back way. So it must be a continuous progress. Another critical item, in my opinion, is the management of complex CapEx projects. I think that we all know, and also during this conference, it has been confirmed, doing nothing is not an option. Integration with petrochemical, fuel oil extraction, this means investments. So it's a sort of rule of the thumb. Everybody knows that big projects must be late, right? So it is even in the PMI manual. Well, why it should happen? So today, the way in which we manage complex projects has to be different. First of all, a big project means CapEx intensive, means multiple years execution. The story tells us that things can change, and something which is black one day can become white in a few months. So probably we should adopt the concept of modularity, which is quite standard in upstream. So look at upstream projects. For example, the development of an oil field. The development of an oil field reaching the plateau of production is all about the facilities you need to build to treat the oil and the number of wells you have to drill every year. If the crude oil price goes down, you just slow down the number of wells you drill and you schedule consequently the construction of the facilities. Now, the complexity of downstream projects is by far much higher than the complexity of our upstream projects. And also the possibility of modularization is not so easy like in upstream projects, but we need to think to a different way to implement CapEx projects, making small steps, making the projects safer from the economic point of view, making the projects with a much better time to market, because that's fundamental in the volatility of the scenario we have today for the profitability of those projects. In the light of the permanent effects of COVID-19, I do believe that the way everybody manages projects is going to change. In BAPCO, we did, for example. So just an example, 3D model review. The tradition is bringing people together in a room with a 2D model or a 3D model and having all the comments and the navigation through the model in the same place. Today, with modern technology, this can be done just using 3D Googles with people sitting everywhere in the world. You don't need to move physically people. You don't need to concentrate engineering activities necessarily in one place, moving big teams from one place to another. This is what the technology gives us today. So the data-centric approach, which has been presented like an evolution, is not an evolution anymore. Data-centric approach, so the possibility for an engineering project executed in multi-center mode. So all the team can work on the same deliverable at the same time. There are no errors, there are no loops. Is mandated today in light of the efficiency we need to execute properly new projects and in light of the modern technology which has been developed more and more as a consequence of COVID-19. The other two actions I have in mind to accelerate the growth in the future actually are the same actions we always did. We have just to approach the same actions in a different way. Today, improvement has been seen like small steps based on the trend coming from the past. COVID-19 is a breakthrough, is a game changer, so we can't count on the continuity we have seen so far. Lean organization is important. OpEx is the key, right? So the reduction of the margins means that we have to adopt a structure which is as lean as possible. This means a number of things. It's not just reducing the number of people, it's increasing the level of automation, it is increasing the tools to control our units, it is increasing the operational availability. Operational availability is not an option anymore. So we all know that Solomon divides the refineries in quartile. I don't think that in 5 years from now, we are going to talk about third and fourth quartiles anymore. Does not make sense. And the concept that Mohammed was highlighting and correctly before, so there are new refineries coming in. So it makes the game harder. We are going to compete with new refineries designed today with the modern technology, with a modern asset, with a better thermal integration, with all the tools that are available today. Therefore, I will not say a refinery with 90 years of history like BAPCO, but even a refinery designed 20 years ago, from the technology point of view, unless a strong modernization and digitalization program is in place, will never be able to compete with a refinery built next year. So energy efficiency, lean organization, not cost cutting, because cost cutting is like a diet. Once you have cut the costs, then the system stabilizes. Is cost optimization, doing the same things in a different way, or maybe doing more things in a better way, including partnership with contractors. The concept of the standard contract we have today probably is obsolete, because the competitivity of a refinery is based on the competitivity and on the quality of the contractors, because we all outsource activities. So that's another important point we need to develop, looking at the future. And finally, performance maximization. So 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the margins were good. Maybe $8 per barrel, maybe 7, maybe 9, maybe 10, but good. So there was no risk at all that that margin was going down below zero. Today it can happen. So what we need to do today is having a performance maximization scheme, flexible and fast. We must be able to take decisions in 1 hour, changing the asset of the units to adopt a scheme which fits the current economic scenario. Tomorrow, the scenario could be totally different. This is in place in many technologies. So, for example, key units for fuel oil distractions. The old technology, a coker unit every 120 days had a decoking. Today, there is no shutdown for decockings. The modern technologies, you can have pass by pass the decoking online without any kind of reduction. The concept of how long should be the period between two turnarounds changed because of the scenario. 20 years ago, scenario was good, so as long as it can be, is better. Today is not. Today, shut down the unit, do the maintenance you need for the highest possible reliability when the economics are down. The revenue from this approach is just an order of magnitude on top of the increase of the reliability. We all are reliable. Increasing from 98% or 99% to 99.5 can't be so effective in terms of margin improvement. And finally, to me, the solution is having fully in place all the modern tools about artificial intelligence, predictive tools, including the training of our operators. If we are going to execute new projects, then we need to train the people. And a reduced operational availability because of the learning curve is not an option anymore. So we have to use all the modern tools, for example, the 3D virtual reality models, to make our teams ready to start up successfully with the highest operational availability possible from the first day, the new units that most likely we are going to build. And with this, I thank you all, and I am fully available should you have any question.
Thank you, Mr. Santis, for your highlights. Indeed, minimizing OPEX and maximizing the performance along with efficient resources utilization are key enablers for our GCC industries toward their growth in the future. In fact, developing global partnership to lead to a more sustainable environment is also a goal to creating sustainable downstream sector. And as you highlighted, digitalization, in fact, is playing a major role toward achieving these milestones. I loved your statement about COVID-19. COVID-19 accelerated digitalization more than any CEO. Thank you again, and we'll give the audience a chance to ask questions after we complete all the presentation.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Desans. And now we'll move to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to our valuable guest from the global leading company, Saudi Aramco. My colleague, Mr. Abdulrahman Al-Fadhel, Riyadh Refinery Manager. Mr. Al-Fadhel has more than 35 years of experience in refining business in different functions, including engineering, maintenance, and operation. He effectively managed numerous mega projects and more than 10 major turnarounds in Saudi Aramco in both Riyadh and Ras Tanura refineries. He is currently the manager of Riyadh Refinery since 2012, during which the refinery went through great performance transformation in profitability and efficiency. Mr. Al-Fadhel, in your opinion, in light of this long experience, what examples you would like to share for the downstream industry to sustain operations and excellence building Riyadh Refinery. Excellent journey. Abu Abdulaziz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, and thank you for the organizers for this great event. I am very glad that COVID-19 did not stop us from sharing best practices, from having these conferences, although we are not meeting face to face, but we are enjoying the gathering through the social media. It may be not effective as meeting face to face, but at least it is serving the purpose and better than doing nothing. And we are learning day by day from these technologies how to utilize them the best. Look at it now. Everyone is in a country, but we see ourselves in one screen. And I'm sure there are a lot of audience listening to all of us and seeing our presentations as well. I just want you to allow me to share a few slides, and I will build on what our colleagues, Fahhad and Sanito from Kuwait and BAPCO, and I will just utilize my presentation to build on what they said. My presentation consists of a few slides of our journey, but the main message of my presentation is, well, we are in a very challenging environment, very challenging business, and achieving excellence. If it is required years back, today it is definitely required, but it is not enough. What is needed is always to create new peaks, because everybody is improving, and if you kept yourself on the peak, people will left you behind. And my presentation is going around that message. Can you please confirm that my presentation is clear? Okay. Is it full now? Down, yes. Okay. F5. Okay. Can you do it from your side? No, I see it in my screen as a full screen now. Okay. Well, let me just share with you Riyadh Refinery Excellence journey, which started long time back, and we will just enjoy at the end of it the result of this excellence journey. Let me just give you very, very brief about Riyadh Refinery. Riyadh Refinery was constructed back in 1972. And it was under the company called Petroleum. Then it was under Samarik, where all refineries in Saudi Arabia and distribution plant were established under one company. And then in 1993, a royal decree was issued to have all the refineries and distribution plant under Saudi Aramco. So since 1993, we are enjoying being with Saudi Aramco. Riyadh Refinery is the only refinery in Saudi Arabia inland. So we're not near a sea or river, and that is challenging by itself because we are far from the water resources, and which is very, very challenging for us. And for just the sake of letting you know that if you are not near a sea or water or a river, this is very, very challenging. And if you imagine that we are utilizing all our water need, 15,000 barrels every day from Riyadh city sewage water, and we are treating it to a boiler feed water, which is 20 times purer than the water that we drink. It's a conversion refinery because it has a lot of converging units such as platformer, hydrocracker, demetallizing oil, and we convert our feed. 95% of it is a white product and finished product as well. Our capacity is 130,000 barrels a day, and we cover 30% of the central region demand. And this is just a very simplified diagram about the refinery. As we receive only 130 MPD, but we receive actually 330 MPD, and we stabilize 200 of them for Saudi Electric Company, and the rest of it is a feed for the refinery. And these are the typical products of the refinery. We produce LPG, 5 MPD of LPG, 40 MPD of gasoline, both grades, 91 and 95 octane. We produce 15 MPD of jet fuel, 60 MPD of diesel, and 200 tons per day of sulfur, and 18 MPD of asphalt. This is just a very brief about the refinery. Now, let me share with you some of the excellences that we have achieved in the refinery. In 2017, we won 2 Saudi Aramco CEO awards. And this CEO awards is annually, and it is creating a positive competition among the departments and refineries. In 2017, Riyadh Refinery managed to win 2, not 1 awards, one of which is Operation Excellence. And this is a photo of the ceremony where the CEO hand out the awards to the winning departments. And this is the second award, which is the Environmental Excellence Award as well. And these 2 awards, as I mentioned, we granted them in 1 year. Now, imagine yourself on this level of performance. This Operation Excellence review normally happened every 3 years because the long queue, they are doing it for Saudi Aramco. And I wish they can do it to me every year. But since they are doing it for 3 years, we were worrying that the performance will decline. People will overconfidence about themselves and feel complacent. But we thought of another mean to ensure the excellence. And we decided to go for ISO certificates, and which is in our hand. We can get it, we can continue renewing it. And we decided to go that route. And in order to have the morale of the people and believing in themselves to get the certificates, we decided to start with the easiest one, easiest unit that can grant the ISO certificate. And we started with our laboratory because it is decent machines. The tests are also internationally, and we thought that it is easy to obtain it. And we managed to obtain it in 2015. And we said, okay, let's wait until our lab renew it. And if they renew it, then it's a testimony of sustaining the excellence. And they managed to sustain it, and they managed to renew it. And then in order to encourage others, we decided to choose the most difficult unit that can grant ISO certificate. And that unit was the maintenance shop, which always people believe that the maintenance shop should be a dirty floor with dirty coveralls. You know, you can do your business while your floors are clear, your technician have clean cloths. It's not necessary that you have all of this. But we assigned the shop foreman, and we gave him all the resources in order to acquire the certificate, and he managed to do it. And now our shop is certified. Now, after getting the easiest and the most difficult, in between, we said to all units, you have no excuse now. If maintenance shop obtained it, then there is no excuse for you not to obtain it. And guess what happened after that? See how many ISO certificates we obtained it. Inspection obtained it, safety obtained it, reliability, energy, environment, and the quality. And we have double of this. We have also, but because of the screen size, we cannot put all of them, but we have 11 ISO certificates. Every unit acquired it, and they are doing their business according to an international standard steps. Well, creating that environment in the refinery, we start to reap the benefits of this. And engineers and the industrial workforce start to realize that's really something that we should be very proud of, and we should compete internationally. And we have no less qualified task force, rather less than the international workforce. And I will just share with you some of the benefits that we reaped so far. First one, we have granted a USA patent done by 2 of our bright Saudi engineers. And this is to dewater the water from the hydrocarbon tanks. And we all know that the water is the enemy of the refining if you introduced it to the fractionation units. But these engineers managed to bring a very smart, brilliant idea to automatically dewater the water from the hydrocarbon tanks without welding, without cutting. It's clamp on, utilizing the sound velocity difference between the sound velocity in water and hydrocarbon. Now, every patent is useless unless it is commercialized. And if it is not commercialized, it will stay in the drawers. And thanks God, this patent is commercialized, and it was commercialized in Riyadh Refinery, and we applied it in 30 tanks, and we saved, as a result, $30 million out of applying it. Not this, 3 vendors applied to Saudi Aramco to also commercialize it, and Safia vendor won, and he is now utilizing it commercially. he so far have 75 installations. And these two gentlemen were recognized by the Engineering Council of the Gulf, and also they won the 2 custodians for gifted and brilliant. And look at the, well, an engineer's granting a patent, well, that's maybe normal. But the second patent that we granted is by technician. Our electrical technician managed to get a patent to identify faulty cables among cables in one tray. And that was also granted from United States as well. We also, few months back, granted a 3rd USA patent to utilize and optimize the water use to remove salt. Well, this is not the end of it. We were given a number of a new patent, a 4th one that will be, now we have the number from United States, and it is now in the formality stage, but we will be expecting it in maybe 2 or 3 months to get it one. And now these are 4, but we have also 5 in the pipeline. Well, this is how you reap the benefit of creating an environment for innovation and for really bringing an idea. And if these ideas are needed 10 years back, they are definitely needed more now with the situation that my friend Fahhad and Santis mentioned in their presentation. Well, being in that and put yourself in the management of Riyadh Refinery, how can you ensure that you continue this excellence? And I just want to end my presentation with a very famous quote that say, if reaching the top is easy, the challenge is the famous saying is to sustain it. But this is not anymore enough for Riyadh Refinery. And we are very glad that we replaced it with a very and more challenging quote, which is, if reaching the top is easy, the challenge is to enjoy creating new peaks, and put 2, 3 lines under enjoy. We need people to achieve excellence with enjoyment, not with stress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Al-Fadhel, for sharing such impressive journey of Riyadh Refinery, and indeed, Operation Excellence call for collaboration with stakeholders and benchmarking to exchange best practices and gather improvement opportunities that reflect on the mutual benefit of our organizations. This is of importance toward leveraging a continuous learning organization concept, and hence ensuring both strong economy and a clearer environment for present and future generation. Abdulaziz, thank you again. Ladies and gentlemen, the current socio-economic and healthcare crisis have shown us that our strength lies in cooperation and sharing knowledge. This is why we have brought together some of the region's brightest minds to develop thoughts on how to deliver positive change to drive downstream sustainable and growth. Our success in achieving these milestones and other will come by committing ourselves to high standards of excellence, which must be built on unwavering focus on safety, environmental protection, as well as determination to maintain the reliability, to boost operation and capital efficiencies, and realize enhanced value creation through different organization value chain. Now, we have a limited time and we will allow only one question. We have received many questions to all of the presentation, but we have focused questions on the presentation that was delivered by Mr. Gaetano. Mr. Gaetano, as you mentioned, the oil and gas industries call for innovation which require companies to invest in technology, in digitalization, development for value creation, and the base of innovation will differentiate companies from each other. From your perspective, can you please share with us some of BAPCO leading efforts in this regard? We'll give you only 3 minutes, Mr. Gaetano.
Thank you. Fortunately, 3 minutes are not enough to describe all the initiatives that BAPCO is running for the digitalization. So, for example, in light of the new project which is coming, we started a new I will not say digitalization, but a new project just to make all the graphic pages of the DCS user friendly. Whenever you have a new unit coming in, you have a lot of needs in terms of training and a lot of new people joining the operations. Maybe you are starting up process units which were not part of the culture of that refinery before. So having the so-called advanced operator graphics, which is a simplified version of the old style DCS. I mean, we have the same age, and we remember how happy we were when the graphic page were so complicated, because we got the feeling that we could control more things. Now everything is interactive, everything is intuitive. So there are a number of applications under execution for predictive maintenance on big rotating equipments. We have tested a number of solutions, and we also interrogated the data we already had available, and it was really possible to predict the failure in an anticipated way with obvious positive consequences in terms of loss of profit. We are also starting, I think this is the first application in the Middle East, a new technology is not just predicting corrosion, but is measuring corrosion based on a mix of online sensors and big data analytics. This is really effective, and we have big expectations from this application. There are a number of consequences, from the chemicals optimization to longer life of the units, but we really have very, very high expectations for this. We are running a number of initiatives. I think that the biggest project we have, other than the BAPCO modernization program, is about digitalization. And I do believe that GCC has a unique opportunity worldwide, because GCC is the place where oil started. So the culture in this part of the world about oil and gas is 90 years old. So if we put together this culture with the modern technology, the success is sure thing.
Santis, for this valuable feedback, and our panelists are available for the audience to contact or send email and ask the questions that you need to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the end of our panel discussion. I wish we had the chance to provide the industry-leading knowledge, information exchange, cutting-edge insights, and outlooks on growth, considering the current conditions, energy transition and transformation, along with outlooks and analysis beyond the current conditions into the implication for the energy sector in the coming years. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's please put our hands together for our wonderful panelists. Thank you, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure for me to moderate this session, and I would like to close the session now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.